Hello. I suffer from CFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome. It's horrible. I think unless you actually have it, you can't understand it. It's like now, having chronic fatigue is not the same as simply being tired. This is like a debilitating thing that affects you and no one else can see it. Everyone else, if they don't understand, they can be quite hurtful at times. People don't mean to be, they just don't understand because they look at you and they think you look fine and they don't understand what's going on in your head, and the truth is no one really understands. The disease is a bit of a mystery. There are many symptoms to it. The big one that really affects me is what they call brain fog. It's basically the brain just doesn't really work. There are times when you just simply can't process information. What someone's trying to tell you, it just isn't registering and you're not really sure what to say back, and it kind of just, you're not there. Physically your body's there but your mind is just nowhere. So if someone's trying to explain something to me, I haven't got a clue what they're saying. I suffer from this quite a lot in karate. Now you may think, I do my karate videos and stuff. I'm a fit, active person. But the truth is, I sleep an awful lot of the time. I will sometimes sleep in the class. I will step out of the class and I'll lay down for 5-10 minutes and then get back up. Sometimes if I just overexert myself, I will need one of the other students to give me a lift home, because I can't physically drive myself home. This is quite normal. If I've gone away on gashkus, training weeks, I have in the past slept through entire days of the gashku because I can't physically cope, because doing this is really demanding anyway. So to actually be putting myself through that, but the thing is, I actually really enjoy the karate, and this is the one thing that I won't let this condition take away. So I push myself through it. Sometimes it probably would have been wiser to stay at home, but then I stay at home all the time now. I very, very rarely go out. One of the big things about having this condition is I can't go out in the evenings at all. I very, very rarely go out in the evenings. I very rarely see anybody anymore. I forced myself out a couple of nights ago to say happy birthday to a friend. I was there for literally 5 minutes. I went in, said happy birthday to her, and then came home. I was just so exhausted. I just wanted to stay in bed, but at the same time I really wanted to go out and see her, even if it was just for 5 minutes. So I did. I was there, literally went, said happy birthday, came home. But that's the thing with this. A lot of the times I want to just stay at home, I just want to sleep. I'll come home from work and I will go to bed. I will be in my bed. Most days I'll be in bed from like 6 o'clock, although I'm not actually... Most days I'll be in bed from about 6 o'clock, but I'm not actually properly sleeping until about 9 o'clock, but I can't physically really function from that point. Whereas in the past I used to go out, I used to go to a club in town, I used to go to the pubs. I always did suffer a bit. I could never do an all-nighter and then go to work the next day. I've never ever been able to do that. I've always known that, you know, if I have to get up in the morning, I have to go to bed early. But that's just as it was when I was younger, and now as I'm getting older, I just can't go out. Like one night out and I'll be suffering for a week, maybe 2 weeks. It's absolutely horrendous. And it's not just the tiredness, it's just the complete and utter exhaustion. I mean, being tired is not the same. It's like trying to explain what the colour red is to a blind person that has never seen and has no concept of colour, and you try to explain to them the colour red in a way that they will understand it as you do. That is what it's like having chronic fatigue, trying to explain it to someone who doesn't suffer, and they'll be like, oh, I get tired sometimes, if I go out I get tired. It's like, no, it's not the same. Okay, it's not even comparable, it's just not the same. So because of my chronic fatigue, I have in the past had temporary driving bans when I was really bad, and that is just the loss of my freedom to be able to go where I want to go. I mean, that's really hard because I'm the sort of person that just likes to just go on adventures, just get in the car and just go and end up anywhere and everywhere, and not being able to do that, and then not being able to get to work because I lost my job because I was too tired to work. So I've got no money coming in, and anyone that's ever had to have ESA assessment will know how ridiculous it is, and like, no, they always say you're fit for work. And I'm lucky that my current job, the manager understands my condition, so I only work very limited hours in the day. Suffering from chronic fatigue can be quite lonely because I spend most of my free time in my room sleeping, and because no one wants to socialise with someone who's sleeping all the time. Okay, so it looks, from my videos, it looks like I have fun, and you see me with some other people sometimes, but they're the very few rare occasions I have energy, and then even them making some of those videos, they'll wipe me out, and then I have to just sleep afterwards. And a lot of people don't understand, the fact that I used to go out in the evenings and now I don't. And a lot of people, they don't have time for you in the day because they're working or they've got their busy lives or whatever. They only want to socialise with people in the evening down the pub or whatever, and I'm not interested in that anymore because I physically can't do it. Also, another thing that happened was when I lost my licence. I've got my driving licence back now, but when I first lost my licence, suddenly you realise how much people were only really interested in you for free lifts home from nights out somewhere. You know, everyone wants to be your best friend if you can drive, because I don't drink, I've never drunk. So I would always be the taxi for people home. And then, you know, when I stopped driving, when I stopped going out, suddenly, you know, I've gone from Mr. Popular to Mr. Nobody Wants to Know. That's how it feels sometimes. Obviously, you know, you can see from my videos, you know, I do sometimes do a video with my neighbour Aaron, so, you know, he's right there, so that's good. You know, we socialise and hang out sometimes, but only in the day. We don't tend to do anything in the evening because I don't have the energy. And then some other friends that you see in my videos, again, it's just one or two. I used to be, you know, so many people, and that's quite hurtful, the way you can feel. You know, they don't necessarily abandon you. They've got their own lives, I understand that. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not asking everyone to go, oh, you know, poor you know, chronic fatigue boy, you know, let's all, you know, gather around. I'm not after that. It's just that, you know, sometimes, you know, in the daytime when I've got energy and I want to see somebody, and I'm like, okay, I've actually got energy to do something in the day. Who wants to meet up? Who wants to do something? And there's nobody around. So the brain fog, which I briefly mentioned earlier, is the real killer. Now, I'm in the process of writing a book. I've actually started several books long before I started making these YouTube channels. I've been actually working on them for quite a number of years. But the problem is, when the chronic fatigue is really taking hold, you can't think at all. There's no thought process goes on in your mind. Basically, your only thoughts are sleep, food, toilet. That's it. You need to sleep, you need to eat to stay alive, you need to use the loo, and then you go back to bed. That is it. There's no room for imagination. There's no creativity when that happens. So I am trying to write some books. One of them is actually, well, I've got to the end, but on the first draft. I'm going back for a second draft, but I haven't actually even looked at it in a couple of months now, because I just can't. I mean, I want to get the book published, but when your brain just doesn't do anything, it's just like a complete nothingness going on in your head. There's just nothing there at all. It's just the basic primal instincts to stay alive: eat, sleep, defecate, eat, sleep, urinate. That's it. There's just, apart from the primal instinct to stay alive, there's nothing else there, literally nothing. And that is what they call brain fog. But it's more than just brain fog. And when I say there's nothing there, I mean literally nothing. But then the CFS is not a continuous thing. It goes up and down like a wave. You can have good days, bad days. You can have good weeks, bad weeks. It can hit you in months. I mean, I've had a couple of months now. It's not, when I say I'm writing and I've got nothing there, it's not writer's block. I mean, there's literally nothing there in my mind. Like when I'm at karate, if they're trying to explain a kata application or a flow drill, I can't process what it is they're trying to say to me. I can like do the stuff that I already know. If they're trying to explain something new, it doesn't go in. They can say it to me, they can demonstrate it, and I can copy it, but it's not going in. it's not registering, it's not being stored as a memory at all. And when I'm like that, I've got no imagination to write, I've got no creativity, and just if someone suffers from really bad CFS, I mean, and I've had it really bad sometimes, an achievement for that day is maybe having a shower. You've had enough energy to get out of bed and get washed, and that is an achievement. And if you suffer from bad CFS or ME, you will know that that is an achievement sometimes. So I've got a job now, and my job is actually looking after other people, and even though I only do part-time hours, it just burns me out completely. I'll come home and I'm dead. Absolutely dead. And, sometimes I feel like, I need someone from my company to come and look after me, because I come home. I mean, what you can't see from this video is that my room is an absolute tip right now. I mean, I spend my day cleaning other people's houses and looking after them, and all that goes in with, what do I do? Supported living. I come home and I'm just like, I can't manage it. I will literally come home, crawl into bed. I got home today at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've been pretty much in my bed since then. I haven't had properly fallen asleep, but I wouldn't say I've been awake either, and while I turn this video off I'm just going to fall asleep. Now, if anyone's suffering from CFS, you go to your doctor. A lot of doctors don't recognise it. They don't think it exists. And a lot of you may be told you have depression, and you may be even given antidepressants, but that won't help. That won't make that, because you're not depressed. You're suffering from an illness which is making you tired, which is sapping the very essence of life from your body. And yeah, that's going to bring you down when you don't see your friends and you don't see the people you care about. You spend your whole life just sleeping in your bed. That is going to make you depressed. That doesn't mean you're suffering from depression, though. People who suffer from depression, that's a different thing. But a lot of doctors don't understand that, so you may have to go through all this, trying this, that and the other, and they'll do so many blood tests. If you've got ME, it won't actually show up in a blood test, but they have to rule out other things first. It might be something that they can detect from a blood test. It might be iron deficient, for example. But if you're going from one doctor to another or whatever, and and the first thing they do is all blood tests, more blood tests, and then the blood tests come back and they're saying, oh, everything's normal, you're perfectly healthy, go away, why are you bothering us, there's nothing wrong with you. And that can bring you down, that can make you depressed. You can leave the doctor's surgery doctor's surgery actually feeling even more depressed and even more like, well, they said there's nothing wrong with me, or the blood test came back saying negative, and the doctor more or less told me to go away. That is a very common thing. I've been to a sleep clinic, had all the wires coming out my head, and they said, oh, we can't really find out what's wrong with you. They tried me on a drug called modafinil, which is meant for people with narcolepsy, but I had a bad reaction to that. I only spent one night at a sleep clinic, but I've got a friend who lives in another country who studies sleep, and she said that where she is, sleep clinics, they do 2 nights because you're never going to get a good result from the tests on the first night, because you're in a strange environment, you're in a strange bed, you've got wires coming out your head, you're not going to get a proper reading. But I did it here, I think it was St Thomas's Hospital in London. Anyway, they thought I might have, when they ruled out narcolepsy, they thought I might have epilepsy, because sometimes if I'd just fall asleep I might twitch a bit, myoclonic jerk. So they tried me on lamotrigine, and that was not good for me at all. No, that was a bad drug for me, and the specialist who gave it to me was surprised, saying, oh, that's the least powerful of the epilepsy drugs, and I was, no, that just was not good. I mean, I always described it as someone cut open the top of my skull off, got a spoon and just scooped out the front part of my brain and then put my skull back on, and that's what it felt like on lamotrigine. So then I've tried antidepressants, and that just was no good. That just zombified me right out. I didn't have a clue what the hell was going on. So they've tried me on a number of drugs. Currently, I do take thyroxine, but only the minimum dose, because my thyroid is only borderline. But for the CFS, I take a drug called amantadine hydrochloride, which is actually meant for people with what's it called? Parkinson's, and it's also an anti-flu drug. But the side effects is it releases dopamine, and the dopamine is supposed to keep me more awake. But they don't have nearly as much effects as they used to, although having said that, if I forget to take them, then I can't function. So, and that's the thing. Before I was on medication, I couldn't function at all. I would sleep everywhere. I would go out, I'd be fine 1 minute, asleep the next minute. I'd sleep at a pub, I'd sleep on the roadside, on the pavement, park. It didn't matter where I was. To me, everywhere was a bed. If I needed to sleep, I would sleep. Since I've been on my medication, that hasn't been so bad. I don't tend to just sleep out in the middle of the street anymore. I will come home and then fall asleep. So in that respect, it has improved my life quite a lot. But at the same time, I still need sleep all the time. Sometimes I'll get called lazy, or you might get called lazy, but you're not. Sometimes I physically cannot do a thing. As I said before, people that suffer really badly from CFS or ME, and I said to them an achievement for that day might be just getting out of bed and washing themselves. So if you think about other things that need doing, like laundry, I've got a pile of laundry downstairs I need to put away, or just general things that you do in everyday life and you just physically can't do them. You just can't. You want to, you just cannot. And people may call you lazy, and that can be quite hurtful, because if you're lazy, that means you're perfectly capable of doing something, you just can't be bothered. If you're suffering from CFS, it's like you can be bothered, you want to do it, you just physically can't. And you think then, and for a long time this would be hurtful, but then I was thinking, even in the medical profession this condition isn't fully understood, so family and friends don't really have a chance of understanding it. I've heard of things like, doing, people say, oh, make lists and stuff. Oh, if you write out lists, write out all these lists and the things to do in the day, set your alarm clock in the morning, get up at the same time every day, write out a list of things to do in that day. They mean well, but quite frankly, that's fucking bollocks. Okay? I cannot wake up in the morning sometimes. Okay, I said that, my work is understanding. Okay, I generally won't start work before 11 o'clock. I said that to them. I said I cannot function before that time. I'm forcing myself to do this job because I'd rather force myself to do this job and then come home and suffer than go anywhere near the DWP again. Just the whole, if anyone is with the DWP and or they're on the ESA or JSA, and they know how horrific it is and how uncaring and how fucking awful the staff there are. And I would rather die than have to endure going back to signing on or going through the ESA process again, because they're just evil people. So I forced myself to do this job, and I said I got extremely lucky because I work for a caring company, and the management there, they understand my condition and they give me allowances and they don't force me to do anything I can't do. So I'd rather do that and then come home and die than, not literally, then go back to there. I've actually completely forgotten. I've lost, what was I talking about? I've completely lost my train of thought. I have no idea what I was talking about. So anyway, this will happen quite a lot where I just forget what I was talking about. There's nothing there. I've got no recall. I mean, I could stop the video, play it back and watch it, but I can't be bothered to do that. That is a normal thing to happen, really, where you just completely forget. No, it's gone. So anyway, if you think you might be suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome or ME, write down all your symptoms. Write it down. I think I remember what I was talking about. Anyway, I'll come back to that. No, it's gone again. I was about to write it down, but I've forgotten again. Yeah, so go to the doctor, write down all your symptoms, long list, everything, no matter how trivial you think it is. I did that, and there's actually a surprising number of symptoms that I suffer from. That are related to like ME. It was like practically every single one. But then even then, the doctors or neurologist specialists, they will be reluctant to give you a diagnosis, even though I'm suffering from pretty much every single symptom that is associated with ME. Trying to get them to actually give a diagnosis is like trying to get blood from a stone. I am quite lucky in the fact that I don't get pains. A lot of people that suffer from ME often suffer from pains as well, a bit like fibromyalgia. I don't get that, so in that sense I'm quite lucky, but some people do. But pretty much everything else I have to some degree, some more, some less. And you just got to keep badgering the doctors, just keep on and on, just be a thorn in their side. Demand to be referred to a specialist. Don't just get fobbed off with, oh, you've got depression, take these antidepressants and go away. Because that's rubbish. Trying to find friends that they won't understand, but friends who will not abandon you, because you won't be able to visit them as much as you want to in the past. You won't be able to visit them as much because you just can't. You'd be too tired. And there'll be days when you can't go out, you can't see people, and so they feel like that you're not really being sociable anymore. And it will rob you of much of your life. I mean, this time last year, I felt like my life was pretty much over. I'd lost my job, I'd lost my driving license. I almost never went out, and I felt like my life was going to be over. But now I've got my license back, though, I won't drive if I'm tired. I mean, you shouldn't drive if you're tired anyway. I mean, that's just common sense. But I won't even consider driving if I'm tired. I won't go out in the evenings. I won't give myself a reason to get tired. I've lost my train of thought again. I found if you suffer from something like this, you'll be torn between wanting to listen to your body that's telling you need to sleep, so you want to stay at home and sleep, and you also be torn between not wanting it to completely destroy your life, so you'd still want to go out. And this is a fine balancing act between listening to what your body's telling you and not letting the condition rule your life. So this is why I still do karate, but this is also one of the reasons I'm progressing through the grades so incredibly slowly compared to everyone else in the entire planet that does karate, because I get so tired, I can't always train, I miss classes, and I said earlier, if I go to classes, I can't always finish the class, or I have to step out sometimes, and they know that, they understand that I can't always train to the best of my ability because I physically don't have the energy, I can't do it. But at the same time, if I didn't do that, I think I actually would have lost the plot by now, because as I said, it's taken so much away from me, and that's one thing that I won't let this condition take. It's the one thing that I want to keep hold of, because there's so much more that I feel that it has taken away from me. So anyway, so if anyone else is suffering, I found this brilliant group on Facebook. It's for people that suffer from chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, which I can't remember what that stands for right now, some long name. It's a UK based group, but that actually was really good when I found that, because for the first time I found people that actually understood what I was going through. Because other friends who were trying to be helpful directed me to like depression groups, and I was reading what they were writing and these depression groups, and I couldn't really relate to what they were saying, but through that group I actually found this other chronic fatigue group, and I could relate 100% to everything people were saying on there, and I actually found that really helpful. Obviously it doesn't stop me getting tired, but mentally it's really good. Now apparently there's no actual physical groups in my area anymore. My GP told me because of budget cuts there's no like group anywhere near where I live for people suffering from chronic fatigue, but they are around. There are NHS clinics around, just nothing near where I live because of budget cuts. So this online group was really good. It just helps mentally, just makes you know that you're not alone, and then people there are very supportive. So that's good. Now it's getting late. I'm gonna go to bed now. It's 10:05 in the evening. It's far too late for me to be awake, so I'm gonna go to sleep now. And I probably won't wake up for like 12, 13, 14 hours. Sleep straight through. I don't have to be at work, and I'm only doing 3 hours work tomorrow. That's not until like 3 o'clock. Is that right? I better double check that. Might be 2 o'clock actually. So I can have a nice long lay in, and I will. So yeah, I'm not sure if I covered everything I wanted to say. I'm not even sure how long I've talked for. So it does get better. So at the moment, I've been having a really tough few days, but it for me, it kind of comes and goes. I can have a couple of weeks where I can't function, at all, and then a couple of weeks where I feel better, not perfect. I don't feel, as I used to when I was younger, but I feel, as if I can actually do some things. And then when I'm like that, I'm like, okay, I've got some energy, quick, tidy up my room, do some laundry, change the bed sheets, because I don't know how long the energy is going to last, so I do as much as I can in the time that I've got, because I know once I crash again, I'm not going to be able to function for a week, 2 weeks, I'm not going to be able to do anything. But as I said, this time last year, I would almost come to the conclusion I was going to be bedbound. I really was literally just in bed all the time, only getting up to eat and use the toilet. And of course, you get quite weak doing that. Muscles aren't getting any exercise, so I became quite weak. Even now, suffering. And if you've watched my karate videos, you'll know that I've got a grading coming up soon in karate. I should be training every day for that video. What am I saying? I should be training every day for the grading, but since I've posted that video, I haven't done any practicing at home at all, because I physically haven't had the energy. I've been completely unable to, and I've only been to a couple of actual classes. I went to a class, what day is it now? It would have been yesterday. Yeah, I went yesterday. But I suffered, I struggled. It was, but as I say, they understand. Where I train, they understand. Having friends that understand is important, but also having friends that don't abandon you. I have a friend who suffers from MS. It's obviously completely different to what I suffer from, but she told me when she became ill and diagnosed, a lot of her friends sort of abandoned her. And it's similar with this. I try to keep in contact with people online. It's not the same though. Anyway, I'm too tired. I'm gonna have to turn this off. So anyway, yeah. Bye.